Okay, we're gonna do an evening scene. It's very late afternoon, getting toward evening. And I've walked by this scene many times in my life and I always kind of liked the way it looked. Just doing a small sketch of it. Gonna get some traffic here and there. So hopefully you don't mind. Not much I can do about that. By the way, the colors on my palette: titanium white, cadmium yellow light. It's really close to the cadmium lemon. Cadmium orange, yellow ochre, transparent red oxide, alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, cerulean blue hue, viridian, chromium green oxide, and this is a little bit of, what the heck is this color? Cadmium chartreuse. Sorry I had to look. If you're new to my channel, if you haven't done so yet, hit the like button and subscribe. Keep the algorithms happy. What I do here is I show some of this painting to my YouTube audience. If you want to see the entire painting, you have to become a Patreon member. The reason why is because I was trying to do this all for free for everybody and hoping YouTube's ad revenue would be a bit more generous, and it is not. So I had to think of another model or stop doing these videos. And sometimes I get people asking me, you know, why the ads, why this approach, and it's just because this stuff costs money to do and it takes time and everything. So hopefully you understand. And if you want to become a Patreon supporter, which really helps me to continue making these videos, click on the link below. It's $5 a month. I'm posting a couple videos a month. If you get up there, you don't see a whole lot. It's just because I just started doing this recently. I'm going to be migrating some of my current public videos over to Patreon. I've already done that with a couple of them, so that only my subscribed Patreon supporters will be able to see them. And it's not to be mean or anything, it's just I had to come up with another model or stop making videos. Because the measly $40 to $80 a month that right now YouTube, at the time of this recording, is giving me for all the ads is just not cutting it. So for the time and effort put into this. But to make YouTube happy, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Love to hear what you have to say. I will be frank with you, so hopefully you don't mind that, but I'd rather have somebody tell it to me straight than lie to me. So that's what I do. Okay, so I got to decide where I'm going to put these trees. We have this one that's closer to us, this trunk. And this one you can actually see some of the coolness and some of the detail in. It's not so silhouetted. The one that's further back is more silhouetted. I don't think this is gonna be a glorious composition. Sometimes I will try to make the compositions really neat and get clever with them when I'm out plein air painting, but it depends on whether I have time or not, and I don't think I'm gonna have the time, just because with this kind of light it changes fast, which is one of the reasons why I paint slow, or small, not slow. I have to paint fast, but why I have to paint smaller paintings. People sometimes ask me about that, and you're not going to get an 18 by 24 done in a scene like this and get it looking like it really is, unless you're just Superman or something. Okay, something I should have did at the beginning was do a thin block in of an approximate sky color. Let's grab this cadmium chartreuse and some titanium white. I'm going to thin this with just a little bit of mineral spirits. By the way, the size of this, probably wondering about the size, it's about a 6 by 8. Really, to be a 6.5 by 8.5 to be more accurate. Normally I don't block in the sky this soon, but when you have a lot of dark silhouetted things in the foreground, especially thinner things like little branches, twigs, leaves and that, then I will get an approximate blocked in. It's because you're never going to be able to paint around all that stuff. Okay, let's go in for some of the ground plane. Now I need to think about angles and consequent values when I do this. I need to make sure that my ground is pretty light in value. Stick that in and compare that with the approximate shadows that I put down. Now this cast shadow right here is too warm. I'm gonna have to cool that off a bit, but I still think I can get in a pretty decent approximate regardless. So right now you just put in approximates. I look at the scene, first thing I ask myself is what value is it? And of course, what color temperature approximately it is. And then once I get that in, I move on to something else. So it's because I don't have to get it perfect at this stage, but I should get it close. Let's go a little warmer with that. Right in the foreground, the immediate foreground on the ground plane, there's some pretty intense hints of green right here. Seeing a little bit of that right there. All right, now for some of the dark foliage. Actually, I need to make a little bit of room. I forgot my big palette knife at home, so I gotta deal with this cleaning my palette with this little tiny thing, which I hope doesn't break. This is a cheap palette knife. All right, let's mix a nice dark green. Let's grab a little alizarin and throw that in there. See how that looks compared to the shadow, or the background, I should say. Not too bad. I think we need to get slightly more intense green. Okay, let's scrape off some of this thicker sky color, because that's just going to be a nightmare to try to work into. I'm going to make adjustments to this as I go. I'm not going to try to copy what I'm seeing there exactly. So that would be kind of boring, I think. I don't try to compose like to a high degree when I'm out here, but if I can make something better, I will do it. I think the mosquitoes have found me. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in the darker greens first, and then we're going to build on top of those. Now as these greens, as these leaves end up behind the trunk, they get a little lighter in value and appearance. And that's because instead of comparing them with this really bright sky, which silhouettes them, we're now visually comparing them to the dark trunk, which allows us to see their color more. And so you have to mix for that. You have to adjust for that by lightening your value a little bit. I'm going a little bit lighter, adding a bit more yellow to this to make it, to give it that effect. Now we still have the highlight colors, the intense greens that are being backlit by the sun. We still have to get those in. That's going to be the icing on the cake here. But I want to get this darker foundation in first to build upon. You can see how scraping off that thicker white and cadmium yellow light paint is so important. Because then I can put this darker paint right on top and it's not going to give me a big problem. And I want to think of shapes, creating some dominant shapes of dark. And where do I want the light, the dominant lighter shapes to be? Probably over here. So I think I'll close this up a little bit on this side. And while I'm seeing this, let's go a little bit cooler back there in those more distant trees. Neutralize that a little bit with some ochre. I can push those back even further. Okay, I think that's a little too blue, so let's go, let's put in a bit of green and alizarin in there. That's much better. Before we get into the fun part, the highlights in that, I want to do some scraping here. Loosen things up a little bit. And let's cool off that cast shadow back here a little bit. It's a little too green. Okay, so if you'd like to watch the rest of this video, just jump down below, become a Patreon supporter. I'm going to take it from here on out for my Patreon members to watch. But thanks for watching up to this point. Whether you become a Patreon supporter or not, I thank you so much. And give it a like and a thumbs up. And we'll see you again soon.